Hi, everyone. Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone, in any time zone of the world, and welcome to this fireside chat, Suptech, Transforming Insurance Supervision. My name is Francisco Campos. I am lawyer, Intendant of Insurance Superintendency of the Dominican Republic, with a master's degree in insurance and risk, master's degree in forensic practice of financial crimes, certified anti-money laundering in banking, corporate finance, and securities law from Florida International University, and a member of Financial Innovation Hub of the Dominican Republic. It's a privilege to gather with such a distinguished audience of regulators, innovators, and industry leaders to discuss how technology is reshaping the way we ensure compliance, enhance risk management, and protect policyholders in an ever evolving market. The insurance sector, like many industries, is facing unprecedented challenges like rapid digitalization, increasingly complex regulatory frameworks, and a growing demand for transparency and resilience. This is how Suptech comes in by leveraging AI, big data, blockchain, and advanced analytics. Subtech empowers regulators and insurers alike to detect risk in real time, streamline reporting, and foster a more proactive approach to oversight. It's not just about compliance, it's about building trust, efficiency, and innovation in the ecosystem. Today's conversation will explore questions like how can Subtech address key pain points in insurance regulation? What are the opportunities and challenges of implementation? And what does the future hold as Subtext matures and expand its application? I am honored to moderate this discussion, and I am confident it will shed light on both the current state of Subtext and the exciting possibilities ahead. So let's dive into the insight, ideas, and expertise our speakers bring to the table. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Well, we're gonna start with ladies first, and we're gonna start with Ariana. Ariana is an expert. Ariana Brina is an expert in digital finance and subtech in the EIOPA Digital Finance Unit, and she's managed projects related to IA implementation and digital transformation. She has been working at the EIOPA for almost 6 years within the Customer Protection Department, working on various oversight dossiers from value for the money to PIPs, mystery shopping exercises, and insurance product testing and analysis. Ariana, as a question, how subtech have evolved in recent years, and what are the key considerations when implementing subtech solutions from an organizational and technical perspective?
So thank you very much for the introduction, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. So just to respond briefly to your question, so as everybody knows, the financial crisis that we had in the last few decades really impacted not only the way the regulation has been drafted and modified, but also on how the supervisory approaches that were at that time kind of proved their limitation in order to detect the risk, but in particular anticipating and mitigating systemic risk. So it's really from there that a number of subtech solutions started to evolve, but it's really in recent years that we have seen more changes towards more automatic solution, and this is particularly due to the new cloud based technology and also the more intervention of AI, so artificial intelligence. These, in particular, these two technologies really allow for a more real-time analysis of the data and real-time supervision, and they really allow to be more data-driven in relation to predictions of risk and detect also complex patterns between different types of data. Um, in relation to the implementation, what we can see and what we have been discussing with our members are very much like three, four important points, and one being, and that this pop-ups very much within all the discussion of Suptech implementation. It's really the cooperation between the team and the multi skills that you should have in this type of Suptech team. So it's very important that the business guys, the data scientists, and the data analysts really work together when they design and implement a blueprint solution for a Suptech tool. And this is very important also in relation to, let's say, the supervisory feedback that needs to be embedded in the construction of this tool, because it's very much important that all the supervisors are overseeing the methodologies and the calibration on the risk, the fine tuning, and also the back testing of the tools that we see. In particular, when we see, for example, tools related to supervision of prudential for prudential purposes. It also goes without saying that if you want to implement an AI technology, for example, which is, let's say, the Ferrari of the technology at the moment, it will not work if you don't put the right fuel in it. So it's very important to have a good data management and data quality processes. So let's say have your house in order before implementing any particular Suptech solution, because even the most powerful machine will not really produce the right outcome if it's not fed with the right data. In addition to this, is also of very much importance that the decision of implementing particular Suptech tools are taken while taking into consideration the overall supervisory framework. This is very much to implement to improve the efficiencies of this tool, and to be sure that we are addressing the pain points of the supervision, and we are not just testing out the latest technology for the sake of testing the technology, but it's really trying to identify what are the gaps within the supervision framework that we have at the moment, and really trying to understand what would be the particular technological solution that's available at the moment that could address those pain points. And this is also is not to say that it's not important to play and have a playground for the new technology. I think it's very difficult to find the right balance, but we should really try to find an equilibrium between like a top-down approach, saying we're gonna implement this particular solution and it's going to be on a big scale and we're going to do it from the top down, to kind of having more like an experimental approach, and let the employees play with the new technology, let try them out, because it's really while playing around with the technology and maybe constructing some pilots, that we can see how this technology is really working with the data that we have, with the IT infrastructure that we have, and so on and so forth. And just to close, I think that generally speaking, it's good to have a strategy, a digital strategy that should be looked holistically at all the points, being IT strategy, data strategy, and SATE. They should really be one connected to the other. Thank you, Francisco.
No, it's very insightful, and I choose a word that complains is collaboration. In this ecosystem, we need collaboration between the regulators and the other players at the insurance sector. And now we're gonna start with Nydia, Remolina. Nydia is an assistant professor of law of the Singapore Management University Yong Pong Ho School of Law and served as fintech track lead and head of industry relations at the SMU Center for AI and Data Governance. She is also a member of the Swiss FinTech Innovation Lab at the University of Zurich. Her main areas are research include financial regulation and the intersection of law, technology, and finance. Nydia holds a master in science of law from Stanford University and is completing now her PhD in law at the University of Zurich. Nydia, as legal part, uh, from your legal perspective, what are the key regulatory and ethical considerations that should guide the implementation of Suptech tools in the insurance supervision?
Thank you so much, Francisco. It's really an honor to be here today. And precisely what you mentioned about the takeaways from Arianna's um, brief answer on the first question, it's something that it's really at the backbone of what you speak or what you discuss in the space of legal and ethical challenges for supervisors. Collaboration is definitely a key point there, not only in terms of collaborating with industry stakeholders or technology companies or even academics that are experts in building those type of technology solutions for Suptech implementation in the insurance sector. But one thing that it's very important in terms of collaboration, it's collaboration between multidisciplinary teams. So people that have an expertise in different fields, not only from the technology side or the technical side, or even from the supervisory side, but also from a legal perspective in terms of managing data, in terms of what are the legal challenges of data analytic tools, implementation of AI systems. And those are some of the things that I will be mentioning in this brief answer to your question. But I love that you already covered a big part of what I wanted to mention, which is collaboration between the legal part, those people that are experts in those legal challenges, and the technology side. Sometimes when we talk about, for example, on challenges about fairness or transparency or the importance of avoiding discrimination when we talk about AI implementation, fairness is a concept that differs depending on who are you speaking with. For lawyers, fairness and discrimination from a legal perspective means something, but for data people that are experts in data analytics or in artificial intelligence, fairness is a different concept that from a mathematical perspective means something different. So that type of collaboration in terms of bridging those gaps between the legal side and the technology and technical side, it's very important. I would mention as well that in terms of Suptech implementation and this type of tools in insurance supervision, what I've seen in my research and based on what some of those supervisors that are the first movers in this trend of using Suptech tools in the insurance sector, I've seen some of those legal challenges that I will be mentioning in this answer. The first one is, of course, data privacy and protection. Data privacy and data protection is something that will be always embedded, those type of challenges in Suptech tools and this type of implementation. Suptech often rely on large data sets, and as Arianna also mentioned, now artificial intelligence and data analytics is seen as the Ferrari of this, or having this great potential of covering most of those benefits that we try to imagine around Suptech technologies. So for supervisors, it's very important to include in their analysis, in that strategy of implementing Suptech tools, what is going to happen with sensitive data that they collect and the inclusion of personal data in the data analytics tools that they will be implementing in those supervisory processes. Additionally, one additional challenge or one extra challenge that they may have here is that in some jurisdictions, data protection rules that are applicable to the insurance sector are different to those applicable to supervisors or to the government sector. So that's something that, for example, happens in Singapore. There is a different type of set of rules applicable to those two sectors. So it's not the same. The implementation of these AI tools is not through the same lens through which you would look and at an implementation in the insurance sector, in the industry. So you need to have that into consideration. Transparency and accountability, it's another challenge. Here, regulators must ensure that the algorithms and AI models underpinning Suptech tools are transparent, explainable, and accountable. And there are different frameworks that define these words differently, these type of principles, but most of them, more than 100 frameworks that regulators and even the private sector have issued in the last years, in the last 5 years around AI governance, revolve around the same principles. So it's important for supervisors in that strategy to define what they mean by transparency, explainability, accountability, to whom, and how to execute those principles and translate them into practice when they talk about Suptech implementation. Fairness and non-discrimination, and how that is different from discrimination from a legal perspective. That will have a greater impact, maybe not in prudential type of Suptech tools, but mostly in enforcement type of tools in terms of market conduct and supervision of this type of conducts in the insurance sector and other markets. When supervisors use that type of tool or Suptech type of tools, they will need to consider how they will face challenges in the process itself on avoiding discrimination or fairness issues from a legal perspective when they primarily develop AI driven type of tools. In terms of ethical use of AI and data analytics, the ethical implications of using AI in supervision should be carefully considered as well in that strategy, particularly regarding automated decision making, and always considering having someone in the loop, a human being in the loop in the process of supervision. The full automation in Suptech tools is still something that it's been carefully considered by those first movers. And even, for example, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, who has developed for the insurance sector prudential supervisory tools, they always combine those automated tools with the intervention of their staff, of human beings that will assess and look at the materiality of the results that those AI models develop or produce as outcomes, and see how useful that can be in the supervisory process. But they don't fully automate in most cases the implementation. And finally, to close on these challenges, I will talk about the interoperability and standards. And again, collaboration would be key here, but maybe collaboration also thinking about additional technology implementations that are needed in the supervisory process. So for example, let's think about ways in which institutions such as insurance companies or others supervised by insurance supervisors could not only send data to the supervisor, but also expose data in different ways, for example, through APIs, in ways that could be more secure in terms of protecting the data and the security of it. And this will have a greater impact in terms of cross-border supervision and cross-border challenges. When we talk about sharing data across jurisdictions, we will have additional challenges in terms of legal compliance. So it would be good to have this type of tools that expose the data rather than transfer the data or share the data, to overcome some of those legal challenges that I'm talking about when we talk about transferring and sharing data. Thank you so much, Francisco, and I look forward to continuing the discussion.
Oh, no, thanks to you, Nydia. As a lawyer, I'm impressed with all the information that you're gonna report with all this fireside chat. And now we're gonna start with Andres Lenden. Andres is a founder of InsurTech for Good, and a boutique consultancy that provide advisory and consulting service to insurance, InsurTech companies, regulators, and policy makers worldwide, bridging the gap between innovation and regulation. His focus areas include open insurance, artificial intelligence, and new business model. He also served as a member of a International Association of Insurance Supervision and the FinTech Forum. Andres, what are specific challenges in the insurance sector are best addressed by Suptech? And how can this solution transform regulatory compliance and efficiency?
Thank you, Francisco, for this introduction and for the invitation. Pleasure to be here and to participate in these discussions. I I guess to answer to your question, I guess it's fair to say that the insurance sector faces unique supervisory challenges where subtech or supervisory technology can help. And to mention some high level challenges, resource constraints, for example, product complexity, overall complexity in the financial sector, in the technological sector that has increased in the past year, but also evolving regulatory requirements and inefficiencies in sort of traditional compliance and supervisory processes. And I would maybe like to bring in a bit of empirical data. So a couple of years ago, in my previous position, we did a comprehensive survey for insurance supervisors across the globe, where we, interviewed 22 supervisors and analyzed 38 subtech tools. And maybe just to bring a bit, bring a bit some knowledge from that exercise. Because I think it's still valid and reflects a bit the situation where we are at the moment as well. So I guess first, what we noticed is that the tools can be address both conduct and prudential problems. So half of them were applicable to both areas, and another half were divided into conduct and prudential quite equally. Uh, Prudential part, if we look the tools that are used there, they are quite similar that are used in the banking side, where we have a lot of empirical evidence or studies as well, which is looking the subtech use in the banking side. So this is basically everything related to the identification and assessment of prudential risk, including systemic risk, which I guess Arianna also mentioned. Automated dashboards, for example, can be developed to highlight key risk indicators early on, highlight financial distresses. Machine learning, of course, as well, to do a certain type of network analysis. And also conduct side, very interesting. I guess there we saw a lot of tools that were more tailored to insurance business, whether they were looking to the distribution side, or whether they were looking a sort of pre-contractual phase, or the phase where you sign the contract with the consumer, whether it's related to analyzing sales calls or compulsory contractual documents. So where again, I guess the natural language processing can add benefit. So really variety of different use cases. And so I guess it's fair to somehow say that you can use it across the supervisory value chain, or supervisory across the supervisory process. And how the supervisors are using the right tools. So we try to analyze that as well. And Arianna mentioned the sort of bottom-up approach, where you try to highlight the problems in this, let's say, working level, discussing it with supervisory teams, people who are doing hands-on supervision, making workshops, making idea gathering, trying to understand what are the concrete problems, and then trying to then address the subtech tools to tackle these problems. But another approach is sort of top down, where you try and develop a certain strategy. It can cover prudential conduct side, and then do your work under the strategy, or develop certain framework how to analyze concrete subtech tools that you that you're aiming to use. Maybe another aspect I briefly would like to mention, which is directly also related to what you asked. So, where are the main benefits? I guess we are almost, or at least trying to, to forget it. But I guess if you look the sort of pandemic type of situations, COVID-19, of course, then I guess it was very evident how different online tools, supervisory technology tools, can add benefits for consumers for supervisors. In a way, you were forced to move to online environment due to lack of face-to-face contacts, and I guess many of the benefits came out this period. Uh, Maybe to highlight and to summarize it from my side, I guess it's fair to say that it's quite challenging to identify what are the right subject tools or where you should start. In a way, I'm citing Arianna, but in a way, what technology for what problem? So I guess this is key question somehow, and for that, I guess again the cooperation can add a lot of value. So really exchange of information between first of all between supervisors to understand what solutions have been working in certain problems in one jurisdictions, and then trying to build on that knowledge, and of course more broadly as well in different I guess multidisciplinary discussions as we are having here today. So I guess this is very important. Thank you.
Excellent, Andres. I think that that this fireside chat is awesome because you have a three perspectives from different specialities that can bring light with the insurance sector and all the information about that. But with all three information that you bring into us, I need to make a question, an open question for you all. How can Suptech tools be leveraged to improve fraud detection and risk assessment without compromising the data privacy and security? It's an important question because all the things about the insurance sector is about data privacy and security. That's why the players on the sector don't want to share information, etc., because they don't have any uh, securities or great securities, cyber security for the information, and a lack of that is a problem with for all the sector. Uh, who want to initiate that discussion? Let me know. Nydia.
Well, thank you so much, Francisco. And actually, one of the comments on the chat um, brought up one of the points that I wanted to mention in this question. And I'm looking forward to hearing what the other panelists have to say about it, because definitely the use of Suptech tools is something that opens up the opportunity to use techniques like data anonymization and encryption to ensure that sensitive personal information and sensitive data is protected during the process and during the supervision process precisely. Also, some new ways in which AI can be used as a Suptech technology is, and something that some supervisors are starting to explore, is the use of synthetic data for predicting certain things about how to tackle climate change, for example, or how to see some forecasts and analyze those hypothetical scenarios in the future. That synthetic data has its challenges in terms of reading that information and interpreting that information, but at the same time, it's another way of using, with the right techniques, anonymized information that is not as sensitive as personal data, of course, that is collected by some supervisors. So those are some of the doors that are that the technology, particularly Suptech technologies, are starting to open for supervisors to experiment with these techniques. It is very important, going back to the point on collaboration, for supervisors to share their learnings, their process, with other supervisors, not only with the industry, but also with supervisors in other jurisdictions that maybe don't have the resources to start from scratch on working on these challenges and working on the use of synthetic data or the use of encryptation and this type of technology tools for supervisory processes. So it's important for supervisors that are those first movers in the Suptech implementation to share their learnings and the lessons learned in those processes with emerging economies and other supervisors that are just starting to analyze this type of tools.
Maybe, yeah, thank you very much, Nydia, and I very much agree with what you said. Maybe if I can complement and bring a little bit more the European perspective on this. We actually have a new AU data hub. It's something that the European Commission put together, and this I think it covers two of the points that you raised. One is using synthesization processes. So actually, the data app will have a specific synthesization process, and what the NCAs and the member states will have to do is just to share the information with us, so share the data. And then we have a third party that is actually through a very well thought process and with all the governance and the data impact assessment done to synthesize the data from that are provided by the different supervisors, and then these synthesized data will have can be accessed by either other supervisors or the sectors, and I think this is very useful, and in particular with the use of the new technologies like AI. And if you look at the AI Act, for example, there is an article that says that each and every NCAs will have to implement an AI sandbox, so where everyone could actually, the players in the market can actually use it to improve their AI tools. So I think this is kind of covering more the synthesization of the data and also the collaboration, which is very much useful. The knowledge sharing in this for these Suptech tools. I think that what I've seen in the past, we are going a little bit further down now from the simple knowledge sharing to increase and getting a mutualization of the Suptech tools that some particular NCAs or the EIOPA has, in order to make the tools available also to other supervisors. So I think that there has been a few kind of successful years of knowledge sharing, and there is now a request from the different NCA that says, now what? I mean, can we do something more? And given that technology can be very much cross-sectorial, what we have seen is that we try to collaborate more and more to the other sister ESAs and see how we can actually bridge the gaps and see how we can collaborate more and extend a little bit and see where some of the tools that are available at an NCA level could be of interest for other NCAs, not necessarily for all NCAs, but for some NCAs, with the one that you mentioned, that could actually have a bit more limitation in terms of resources, for example, could kind of benefit from this type of sharing.
Nice. Andres, can you add something to the discussion? I
Thank you
think
for
you
that.
have.
Thank you for that. Yes, maybe I try to zoom out again a bit, and of course, if you look the practical use cases, then there's a lot of Suptech use cases that can be beneficial for fraud detection or risk assessment. To mention some of these, maybe the machine learning algorithms that identify certain patterns or unusual behaviors based on I don't know, sales practices or financial transactions or in insurance. I guess the claims data is one area. It can be also used. consumer complaints, for example, as well, and some other behavioral risk type of scoring where you try to take, for example, sales score and sales calls and try to transact them from speech to text, and then try to understand, for example, potential mis-sellings or misbehaviors vis-a-vis regulatory requirements. And data privacy and security is of course critical aspects if you're developing these kind of tools. And uh, how I like to think about it, I guess it's not very different that what you are requesting for the market participants. So this is the basic ICT and operational resilience aspects that you need to take into account when you're developing these tools. Yes, maybe for certain use cases, it's possible to anonymize data or use certain other techniques such as synthetic data, especially for certain scenario analysis. But sometimes it might not be possible as well. And then of course the security and governance aspects are super important. Uh, Another aspect which was already mentioned in another angle, but the human in the loop, I guess this is also critical here. Not only to have the sort of uh, human view on the aspect, but also to keep this supervisory knowledge, so that you're not outsourcing all your supervisory work to machines. And at one point where the technology is evolving, you are in a situation where you don't have this knowledge anymore in your authority. So I guess the resources question is very relevant, very relevant here as well. But not only that, the culture as well. So how to build the culture that supports these developments. And final point, I guess the overall knowledge building in the supervisory community is also super important. So this is the same things to understand the new technologies as using the synthetic data or data anonymization and other privacy enhanced technologies, ICT knowledge overall. And I guess here I can bring also one European example where we than in my previous position, but we've been developing a European Digital Finance Supervisory Academy, which basically tries to bring supervisors together and tries to enhance this knowledge, including in ICT area and Suptech area, going very practical, including concrete coding classes, for example.
Wow, very insightful. Really, really insightful. I think that this fire chat can add value to the sector and all the people who can see this fire chat. I need additional to that, say that we have tools that you can share and give the answers for the question and anything you want, because we made it a best tools for this fire chat. And to finish this conversation, because we have 5 minutes left, I need uh, to thank you, three of you, because you have a different point of view, but they merge in some points that is very crucial for the sector. We have three perspectives and great analyze all those things. To finish that, I need to thank you all for joining today for this enlightenment fireside chat on Suptech in the insurance sector. Our discussion underscored a crucial point that technology is not just a tool for compliance, but a strategic enabler for transforming supervision and fostering innovation. By embracing data driven decision making, automation, and real time insight, Suptech is helping the insurance industry address challenges with a greater agility and foresight. We explore how Suptech enhance the early detection of risk, simplify regulatory process for both supervisor and insurance, and build a foundation of trust and resilience in a rapidly evolving landscape. But as we also heard today, there is still much work to be done. Collaboration between regulators, insurance, and tech innovators will be vital to unlock the full potential of the subtech while addressing challenges like data privacy, interoperability, and the need for capacity building. As a wrap up, I encourage all of us to keep this conversation alive. The insight and the connections we've shared today are a stepping stone toward a more secure, efficient, and transparent insurance ecosystem. On behalf of the Insurance Superintendency of the Dominican Republic, Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, the World Economic Forum, and the esteemed panelists, thank you for your time, your question, and your engagement. Together, we're shaping the future of the supervision in the insurance sector. Wishing you all the best.